In the 2023-24 season, the Oklahoma City Thunder became the youngest number one seed ever in a very, very tight and very loaded Western Conference after going 57-25. After sweeping the 8 seed Pelicans, they would lose to the Mavericks in 6 games in a very tight and contested series, and they were very good in the playoffs, but some things needed to be done during the offseason if they truly wanted to take that next step into a championship team. After the series loss, there were some big changes that need to be done during the offseason, and those changes did happen. And now the Thunder are looking like one of the best teams in the NBA and a no doubt NBA contender going into this season. To understand more about this team, let's go back to the 2019 offseason. Well, first we have to go back to April of 2019, and this was a playoff game between the Thunder and the Trailblazers, and the Thunder were down 3-1 in the series. And then in Game 5, the final shot, Dame Lillard hit a long three-pointer over Paul George to send the Thunder home in another disappointing season. This was the second season of the Paul George-Russell Westbrook experiment and the third season since Kevin Durant left OKC, and fans were starting to lose hope with this duo, and maybe it was time to move on, even though both these guys thought they could win a championship and both of them still want to stay in OKC. But all of those championship hopes were drained out of the window when Kawhi Leonard signed with the Clippers and wanted Paul George. So Paul George was traded to the Clippers in July of 2019 for a staggering 5 first-round picks, Danilo Gallinari, and someone named Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And we're going to be getting into this trade a lot in a little bit. And then 5 days later, the Thunder would trade their other star, Russell Westbrook, who had been with the team since 2008, and after KD left, became the face of the Thunder's history, and they would trade him to the Rockets for Chris Paul and a few other picks, and this would signal the end of a championship window, an era in the Oklahoma City Thunder history, and begin a rebuild. In the Paul George trade, the Thunder got a young player, promising player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who at the time was an experiment in a little bit, and the Clippers knew that sending him away could cost a lot, but they didn't know the expense at the time, and neither did the Thunder really. Well, the gamble worked out really, really well for the Oklahoma City Thunder, as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander today is one of the best players, if not the best player in the NBA, and entering next season, he is an MVP candidate and easily the Thunder's number one option, and if there's a guy to lead the Thunder to a championship, it's no doubt him. But the 2019-20 season was supposed to be a rebuilding season for the Thunder to kickstart what could be something great. Instead, it was a very shocking season where the Thunder finished 44-28 and made the playoffs as the 5th seed, led by Chris Paul, who made the All-Star game this year. However, the Thunder would lose in the playoffs in the first round to the Rockets in 7 games, which is kind of ironic knowing Westbrook was on that team, but most Thunder fans were not mad about this playoff series loss at all. I certainly wasn't, because I knew the future was really bright. But during the 2019-20 offseason, the Thunder would sign a undrafted, little-known guard from Arizona State named Lou Dort, and he was probably only going to stay around for a year or two, like we've seen with so many guys on the Thunder the last few years, but instead, he stuck around and he's become one of the best players in the Oklahoma City Thunder and a very important part to this team. And to this day, he's still very, very pivotal for this team and possibly winning a championship. After this surprising season, though, the Thunder would trade Chris Paul to the Suns along with many other established veterans to different teams, and this would really mark the start of the rebuild. Like I said, this is the first true year of the rebuild, and for half the season, the Thunder weren't actually all too bad. They had around a 500 record and looked like they could make the play-in game. However, they decided to bench a lot of guys like Shai and Lou Dort nearing the end of the year, and that led to some really, really bad starting 5 lineups, but this also led to only a 22-win season, which meant that the Thunder would be a prime contender for the number 1 overall pick. The Thunder would hold the 6th overall pick, and that was their highest since 2009 when they selected James Harden. But with this pick, they had many options to choose from: Jonathan Kuminga, Franz Wagner, you name it. But they decided to take a Australian player by the name of Josh Giddey, and at the time, I did not like this pick, and most Thunder fans did not, and honestly, to this day, I still don't like it, but we'll get into why. I mean, this is the same guy who had a scouting report made of him where basically all of his weaknesses were just main traits of basketball. His main weakness was just basketball, so this pick was understandably clowned at the time. But in his rookie season, Josh Giddey proved a lot of people wrong, to be honest. I mean, he played really well. In fact, he became the youngest player ever to record a triple-double on January 2nd, 2022 at just 19 years and 84 days. And in February, he became the second and third youngest player to ever record a triple-double. He proved a lot of people wrong, and he showed a lot of flashes of potential in his rookie season. And honestly, the duo of Josh Giddey and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and if you want to throw in the trio of Lou Dort, looked like it could be something special in the future. Even though a lot of potential was shown from Giddey and Shai especially, it was still a rebuilding season for the 2021-2022 year, as they yet again had a losing record, only with 24 wins this time in a full-length season for the first time since 2019, and a guaranteed lottery pick and a top 5 pick was well, I don't know how to put it, but yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, but yeah, we're gonna get a high pick. But this year's draft is what really kickstarted the Thunder into being a contender for upcoming years, as the Thunder were blessed with the number 2 pick in this year's draft and got a steal. This guy should have gone number 1, but the Thunder drafted Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga with the number 2 overall pick, and Thunder fans were hyped. I was hyped. Everyone was hyped. This was amazing. But the Thunder were yet again blessed, as from the Paul George trade, they would get the number 12 overall pick, as the Clippers were not as good as they were supposed to be this year. And with the number 12 overall pick, the Thunder would draft Jalen Williams from Santa Clara, and at the time, not a lot of people knew who this guy was. I didn't really know who he was. I knew the other Jalen Williams more, but he was about to prove, yet again, a lot of people wrong. Sam Presti and the Thunder are really good at doing that. This was looking like the season that could possibly get them out of the gutter, but the Thunder were hit with very devastating news going into the season, as their number 2 overall pick, Chet Holmgren, would be out for the entire season with a foot injury. And this was shocking and devastating news to the Thunder fans. It looked like they would spend another season as a bottom dweller, another season in the gutter, and another season at a top 5 pick. Hey, maybe we can get Wemby. You never know. But the Thunder would shock a lot of people this season. The guys we needed to step up the most this season really stepped up big time, as Josh Giddey continued to improve. Jalen Williams shocked a lot of people in his rookie season, and he finished second in Rookie of the Year voting, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander went from a borderline All-Star to a borderline MVP candidate this season, as he was named to his first All-Star selection, and he led the Thunder to a 40-win season and a play-in berth. They would beat the Pelicans in their first play-in game, but they would get destroyed by the Timberwolves in their second. But again, Thunder fans weren't really mad about this, as we had a very bright future ahead of us. I mean, if we did all this without Chet Holmgren in 2023, imagine what we could do in 2024 and an extra lottery pick. There's not a lot to go over for the 2023-24 draft. They added Cason Wallace in the draft, but that's about it. But the 23-24 season was about to be the best season in a long time for Thunder fans. In the 23-24 season, the Thunder greatly improved. Shai finished second in MVP voting. Chet had a phenomenal rookie season. J-Dub had an even bigger leap in year 2. All around, everyone looked phenomenal. The team looked great top to bottom. There is one guy I have to talk about, but this team, in a stacked and loaded Western Conference, despite being incredibly young, had 57 wins and finished with the number 1 seed, becoming the youngest team ever to do so. The Thunder would win their first round matchup against the Pelicans. In fact, it was a sweep, but in the very next round against the Mavericks, the Thunder would fall in 6, and Thunder fans, including me, had championship aspirations for this team, but we couldn't get it done. And hey, even though this happened and it was heartbreaking, there's still a lot of hope left for the future. I mean, there's always next season, and if this team's so young doing all this, imagine what we can do in 2025. However, there were some question marks going into this offseason. Like, what do you do with Josh Giddey? If ever since his second season, he fell off a lot. He lost his confidence to himself on and off the court, which is really unfortunate to him. But it's just a weird situation all around, because he was honestly not even playable at this point. you can't even have a guy like him if you want to win a championship on your team. Well, Sam Presti would perform another masterclass as he would trade Josh Giddey to the Chicago Bulls for Alex Caruso, and the Thunder just got a better player in return who can help out on defense and knock down threes, and this was much needed. We desperately needed a 3-and-D guy after what happened in the Mavs series, and not only that, he didn't have to give up any picks for a guy who was better than Josh Giddey. Another big problem for the Thunder in the 2023-24 season was the rebounding, as they didn't have a big man besides Chet Holmgren, who is a traditional power forward, to rebound, block, all that. So that's why they went out and signed Isaiah Hartenstein to an $87 million deal to become their longtime center. And he's hurt right now as I'm making this video. He's going to return sometime after Thanksgiving, but he's going to be a huge asset to this Thunder team. Also, during this offseason, the Thunder re-signed Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe, who were two very solid depth pieces to the team last year, and they could have gone somewhere else, become a starter, make more money, but instead, they decided to take a pay cut, have less playing time, so they could win a title with OKC. It was truly a phenomenal offseason. This is the most excited I've ever been for any team in my life as a fan of I'm a Cowboys, Braves, and Thunder fan, very random mixture, but out of any team ever, this is the most excited I've ever been, let alone for the Thunder. I cannot wait for this season. As I'm speaking, this Nuggets game is about to end, and we are destroying them. And the Nuggets are not a bad team at all, and I'm just really, really excited, man. We could win the finals. But anyway, that's about it. Jesus loves you. Goodbye.